49-year-old Len Geiger paces through the city and suburban streets of Jacksonville, Florida, training for his next big race. And he is doing this by breathing through someone else's lungs.
It took a number of years, actually into my early 30s, before I started realizing that I was beginning to have episodes of shortness of breath. It was my 35th birthday. When we were leaving the restaurant, I was unable to walk my parents across the parking lot to their car, and instead I stood outside the restaurant leaning on a stranger's car trying to catch my breath.
Until this point, Len had kept his breathing problems a secret from his friends and family.
I was embarrassed, and for everyone to see this gave me the opening to go back to this doctor and say, I really have a problem, and I want you to test me for every single thing you can think of. And she did all the tests she could think of, and then she went back to her office and she looked through her books and came up with one more idea.
Len's doctor drew some blood to test for Alpha-1, which she explained to him was a rare genetic disease.
2 weeks later, I got a telephone call from her to tell me that I did have it.
Len was referred to a lab to test his actual lung function.
And it turned out later that mine was 38% of normal. So I'd lost more than 60% of my lung function by age 35.
Even then, Len still didn't know much about his conditions. The first rather bleak definition he read about regarding Alpha-1 was in the package insert of his medication.
It says Alpha-1 Antitrypsin deficiency, comma, usually a fatal disease, comma. And that's when I realized this is really life-threatening. That was one of the moments when you realize that your whole life has changed right in front of you. And it's difficult being told that you're not going to live a normal life, and in particular being told that you're probably not going to live a normal lifespan. It's the last thing I wanted to hear.
The symptoms of Alpha-1 may cause people to see their doctors.
So what's bringing you in to see us today?
I'm having some shortness of breath.
But unless they are specifically tested for the Alpha-1 gene, they are much more likely to be misdiagnosed and treated only for asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD.
About 73% of individuals that are diagnosed with Alpha-1 are initially diagnosed with asthma.
We test, we look, and lo and behold, a significant portion of the patients who come to see me for trouble breathing are an alpha patient. And again, with a simple little blood test to prove or not prove it.
The lung damage associated with years of untreated Alpha-1 resulted in Len's need for a lung transplant in order to save his life.
I'd taken care of myself. I'd taken all my medications, and I still reached a point where I had to have a transplant or I was going to die. And I really understood that whatever the results were, it was going to be okay.
And then Len received a very important phone call.
The University of Virginia transplant department called and said, "We have lungs for you. Are you ready?" And I said, "Can you give me just a minute? I need to think about this." And they said, "Sure." And I thought about it and said, "I don't think I've smiled for 6 months. I'm ready to risk this."
The operation was a success. He woke breathing like he hadn't in years. Len owed his life to a teenage girl named Corinne.
She saved 5 people's lives. I'm the lucky one who got her lungs.
After his recovery, Len decided to get in contact with the donor's family.
Her father and I decided that we would start doing road races together to raise awareness of lung disease.
Corinne's father and Len have completed multiple bike races and even marathons together. They have used exercise as a way to raise awareness about Alpha-1. Len now lives a very full, healthy life with his wife and daughter, Eva Kareen, named after the young girl whose lungs saved his life. He's an advocate for other people with Alpha-1, and he has this advice for the medical community.
A patient doesn't look like they have Alpha-1. A patient doesn't act like they have Alpha-1. Just screen them. You're not looking for Alpha-1. You're trying to rule it out.